Read the passage below and answer the questions that follow. Also remember that you'll get a grade on your annotations, so make sure that you're pausing the video when you hear something important so that you could make really strong 3 to 5 word annotations so you can get some points on your grade. Chapter 3, From the Open Boat by Stephen Crane. It would be difficult to describe the subtle brotherhood of men that was here established on the seas. No one said that it was so, no one mentioned it, but it dwelt in the boat, and each man felt it warm him. They were a captain, an oiler, a cook, and a correspondent. And they were friends in a more curiously iron-bound degree than may be common. The hurt captain, lying against the water jar in the bow, spoke always in a low voice and calmly. But he could never command a more ready and swiftly obedient crew than the motley three of the dinghy. It was more than a mere recognition of what was best for the common safety. There was surely in it a quality that was personal and heartfelt. And after this devotion to the commander of the boat, there was this comradeship that the correspondent, for instance, who had been taught to be cynical of men, knew even at the time was the best experience of his life. But no one said that it was so. No one mentioned it. Meanwhile, the lighthouse had been growing slowly larger. It had now almost assumed color, and appeared like a little gray shadow on the sky. The man at the oars could not be prevented from turning his head rather often to try for a glimpse of this little gray shadow. At last, from the top of each wave, the men in the tossing boat could see land. Even as the lighthouse was an upright shadow in the sky, this land seemed but a long black shadow on the sea. It certainly was thinner than paper. "We must be opposite New Smyrna," said the cook, who had coasted this shore often in schooners. The wind slowly died away. The cook and the correspondent were not now obliged to slave in order to hold high the oar. But the waves continued their old, impetuous swooping at the dinghy, and the little craft no longer under way struggled woundily over them. The oiler or the correspondent took the oars again. Shipwrecks are apropos of nothing. If men could only train for them, and have them occur when the men had reached peak condition, there would be less drowning at sea. Of the 4 in the dinghy, none had slept any time worth mentioning for 2 days and 2 nights previous to embarking in the dinghy. And in the excitement of clambering about the deck of a foundering ship, they had also forgotten to eat heartily. For these reasons, and for others, neither the oiler nor the correspondent was fond of rowing at this time. The correspondent wondered ingenuously how in the name of all that was sane could there be people who thought it amusing to row a boat. It was not an amusement. It was a diabolical punishment. And even a genius of mental aberrations could never conclude that it was anything but a horror to the muscles and a crime against the back. He mentioned to the boat in general how the amusement of rowing struck him, and the weary-faced oiler smiled in full sympathy. Previously to the foundering, by the way, the oiler had worked double watch in the engine-room of the ship. "Take her easy now, boys," said the captain. "Don't spin yourselves. If we have to run a surf, you'll need all your strength, because we'll sure have to swim for it. Take your time." Slowly the land arose from the sea. From a black line it became a line of black and a line of white trees and sand. Finally the captain said that he could make out a house on the shore. "That's the house of refuge, sure," said the cook. "They'll see us before long and come out after us." The distant lighthouse reared high. "The keeper ought to be able to make us out now if he's looking through a glass," said the captain. "He'll notify the life-saving people." "None of the other boats could have got ashore to give word of the wreck," said the oiler, in a low voice, "else the lifeboat would be out hunting us." Slowly and beautifully the land loomed out of the sea. The wind came again. It had veered from the northeast to the southeast. Finally a new sound struck the ears of the men in the boat. It was the low thunder of the surf on the shore. "We'll never be able to make the lighthouse now," said the captain. "Swing her head a little bit north, Billy," said he. "A little more north, sir," said the oiler. Whereupon the little boat turned her nose once more down the wind, and all but the oarsmen watched the shore grow. Under the influence of this expansion doubt and direful apprehension, was leaving the minds of the men. The management of the boat was still most absorbing, but it could not prevent a quiet cheerfulness. In an hour, perhaps, they would be ashore. Their backbones had become thoroughly used to balancing in a boat, and now they rode this wild colt of a dinghy like circus men. The correspondent thought that he had been drenched to the skin, but happening to feel in the top pocket of his coat, he found therein 8 cigars. 4 of them were soaked with seawater, 4 were perfectly scatheless. After a search, somebody produced 3 dry matches, and thereupon the 4 waifs rode impudently in their little boat, and with an assurance of an impending rescue shining in their eyes, puffed at the big cigars, and judged well and ill of all men. Everybody took a drink of water. All right, pause right here and write your genre-based thinking job. Remember, you get scored on how accurate it is. You can use space right here, or you can use space underneath number 1. When you're ready, you can push play again and we'll start the questions. We're going to start with number 1. Make sure that you're using testing strategies because you're also getting a grade on those as well. Number 1. Choose one way that the harsh conditions and remote location of the setting contribute to the theme of the passage. A. They symbolize the character's desire for freedom and adventure. B. They provide conflict that propels the action and character development in the story. C. They allow the author to focus on the environment rather than character development. D. They permit the author to illustrate the basic principles used to navigate the sea. Number 2. Paragraph 1 includes these 2 sentences. No one said that it was so. No one mentioned it. Paragraph 2 then includes the same sentences. What is the most likely reason that these sentences are repeated in both paragraphs? A. The sentences show that there is a limited amount of conversation among the crew members. B. The sentences show that there is an unspoken level of tension among the crew members. C. The sentences show that the crew members feel similarity about their situation, and they have formed a strong bond that allows them to leave some thoughts unspoken. D. The sentences show that although the crew members are outwardly optimistic, they have serious doubts about their survival and keep their doubts to themselves. Number 3. In paragraph 7, the correspondent reflects on how he views rowing as opposed to how others may view the activity. What is the intended impact of this reflection? A. It is meant to make the reader pity the correspondent and his current physical state. B. It is meant to add humor for the reader by injecting the correspondent's wit. C. It is meant to enlighten the reader about what the correspondent's life was like before. D. It is meant to encourage the reader to appreciate the correspondent more than the other characters. Number 4. This is a 2-part question. First answer part A, then answer part B. Part A. In paragraph 15, what does the phrase impending rescue mean? A. A rescue occurring against many odds. B. A rescue organized according to rules. C. A rescue involving many people. D. A rescue happening soon. Part B. Based on your answer to number 4, which sentence from the passage provides the best clue for the meaning of the phrase impending rescue? A. For these reasons and for others, neither the oiler nor the correspondent was fond of rowing at this time. Paragraph 7. B. We'll never be able to make the lighthouse now, said the captain. Paragraph 12. C. In an hour, perhaps, they would be ashore. Paragraph 14. D. Their backbones had become thoroughly used to balancing in a boat, and they now rode this wild colt of a dinghy like circus men. Paragraph 15. Right, this is your final question. You're going to answer using a complete paragraph. I'm going to read the question twice. Describe the relationship among the 4 men in the boat and explain how this relationship is central to the theme of the passage. Use at least 2 details from the story to support your response. Again, you're answering this in a paragraph response. Describe the relationship among the 4 men in the boat and explain how this relationship is central to the theme of the passage. Use at least 2 details from the story to support your response. If you're now finished with this video, you can go ahead and press pause or close it and answer on these lines of your paper. Good luck, you're going to do great.